Hello everybody. I'm Eleanor Mills, the founder of Noon. Welcome to this for our first ever Noon dating masterclass with the lovely Dr. Mairi, who's below me on the screen, depending on how your things look. It's always strange when you're doing a webinar. Good morning, Mairi. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. You're to the right of me on my screen, so yeah, I'm doing fine here.
It's all very confusing. So I'm delighted to welcome so many of you today. We've got 166, which is very exciting. And I think that's a real testament to Dr. Mairi's skill in this area. Because last year, just to give you all a bit of background for those of you who are new to Noon, Noon is a new platform for women in midlife. I set it up last International Women's Day because I thought that there was so little out there for women of our age, and very little also talking to us in the way that we want to be talked to about the subjects that we're interested in, without it being kind of seeming kind of wrong, or the tone being wrong. And my background is I've been a top flight editor in newspapers for the last 25 years, and I could see that there was such a kind of interested market, lots of women out there who were like us, and I didn't think that the mainstream media was really reflecting us or our concerns at all. So I set up Noon with lots of support from all sorts of kind of friends and fellow travellers along the way. And here we are. And we're really excited that Dr. Mairi is going to be our first Noon Academy course. And I hope that you'll look out for more courses on there, because this is very much the direction of travel. Some people have already been on our first Noon retreat, which we held in October, which was great. Anyway, the whole idea of what we're trying to do is to create a community and a supportive community of women and fellow travellers who are all struggling with some of the same issues, and to try and bring to you the most expert help and support for the very real pinch points that so many of us go through at this time. And let me assure you, I spoke to a lot of dating experts last year. I really did. And Dr. Mairi just massively impressed me, because what she said was so refreshing, and also really useful, I thought, and really evidence-based. And it's very important to us at Noon that our experts don't just talk a good game, that it's really based on some science. And so you're in very good hands with Dr. Mairi. I just loved it. She's an evolutionary biologist. She's really studied this. And also all her dating principles she has put into practice herself successfully, so that there's real depth and bottom to her advice. And so I really hope that it works for you, and that you will be part of her session, and then maybe sign up for her course, which I think is brilliant. So here we go. Dr. Mairi, why don't you tell us a little bit about you to kick us off, and then I know you're a very accomplished lecturer, I will let you get on with it.
Okay, thanks very much, Eleanor. Yeah, well, as you said, I'm a biologist. I started out studying animal behaviour, but then quickly moved on to writing about human behaviour, especially around relationships and attraction, mate choice. Basically, I came back from the wilds to London to write up my PhD, met my first husband, kind of made the wrong choice there, and ended up as a single mum with 3 very young kids. And so I have experienced, being on my own for quite some time, and getting into the wrong sorts of relationships. So I have kind of walked the walk, and now I've discovered the best way of doing things. I kind of got through that. So I'm going to give you some insights into how I changed things for myself and found a fantastic new husband who is the love of my life. And so I shall get on with it. So I'm talking to you from Edinburgh in Scotland. So wherever you are, I would like to welcome you to my masterclass on successful dating in midlife. And there's going to be loads to learn here, so you might want to grab a notebook and pen. So, dating and finding a good relationship is a bit of a challenge for women of any age, but once we get into midlife, it can present a few more, hills to get over. Although we do have some advantages, we don't have to worry about a loudly ticking biological clock, for example, as some women have to. And also, a lot of us are, independent, we know what we want. So, that makes things easier too. But it's certainly not easy. So in this masterclass, I'm going to give you some pointers as to how to do things differently and actually have some fun with it. And, so that you can actually enjoy the dating process and find a good guy using a bit of science. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to give a presentation with slides for around 45 minutes-ish, and then I'll spend a few minutes at the end talking about the great programme that we've got on offer. I've been developing this over the last couple of years, over lockdown, and I've already taken several groups of women through this programme with some absolutely fantastic results, and I've had great feedback. So this time I'm very excited to be collaborating with Noon to bring you this programme, kicking off on the 22nd of January, so that's a week today, next Saturday. And this means that you can get the year off to an absolutely fantastic start. And then after I've told you about the programme, then we'll have time for questions and answers and discussion. So as Eleanor said, pop those questions into the chat box and we'll get to those at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to share my slides and get started. There we go. You see those all right, Eleanor? Is that coming up okay? Brilliant. Okay. So we women often have, a really tough time finding a decent man for various reasons. Some of us lack confidence in ourselves. Some of us think the selection of men out there is pretty abysmal. And where the hell do you meet men anyway? I know most women of my sort of age hate online dating, for example. Well, I'm going to address these issues and more. So as I said, I'm a behavioural biologist. I've spent many years researching and writing about human behaviour, much of this on relationships and attraction. And I've used the principles I've learned from this and applied them in my own life to be successful in making relationship decisions and finding love. Now, I'm going to share a bit of this today, and you're going to leave this masterclass with a very good idea of how you can get ready to improve your own relationship search and your own love life. So I call my program Dating Evolved. So it's using behavioural research to update or evolve the way we look for relationships to meet our needs in the modern world and for the stage of life we're at. And by the way, actually, I should say I've designed this masterclass for women looking for a man. If you're a woman looking for a female partner, there will be lots of useful stuff in here for you. But some of the advice stemming from biology is based around how men and women approach things differently. So just be sure to take that into account. It'll be fairly obvious. Anyway, I know what it's like to run the gauntlet of the dating scene as a woman in midlife. As I said, I spent quite a few years having disasters with online dating and picking the wrong men. And of course, it wasn't just me, lots of other women I know were in the same boat. We were all moaning about it together, how awful the selection of men out there were. Anyway, I knew I had to change things because I was really fed up with being alone. So I was a single mum with 3 kids. This is me with my kids. It's actually a few years ago now. They're young adults now, but this was on Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh. But I got sick and tired of always having to be the strong one, the one that other people depended on. We women are good at that, but sometimes we just want someone on our side backing us up, don't we? I so wanted someone to share my kids with and actually share my life with. And, I also wanted to have someone who'd like to come with me traveling and have adventures, have great conversations. Actually, to be honest, I'd have been happy to have someone to snuggle up with on an evening and watch movies. And then there was the sex, obviously. That's another thing. But it seemed hopeless. There didn't seem to be any decent guys out there. Or if I did get together with someone I fancied, they never seemed to be looking for a lasting, committed relationship like I was. So what did I do? Well, I decided to change things. I decided to completely change the way I looked for men. Rather than relying on my gut instincts, as I always had done, I looked at what the biological and psychological research on relationships and attraction had to say, and I used that to inform what I did. And long story short, the science worked, and I met a wonderful guy 6 years ago now, and we got married in 2019, and I adore him, and he's the love of my life. But the crazy thing is, if I'd been following my old ways of picking men, to go out with, I just never have noticed him or given him a chance. He just wasn't what I used to think of as my type. So I want to help other women like you to do what I've done and find a really happy relationship that enhances your life with a guy that's right for you, using a bit of science to change the way you do things for the better. So now I'm going to go through some of the things that I did so they can hopefully help you to get ready for dating so you can find the man that you need for a great relationship. So the first thing to get sorted is your self-esteem. Now, good self-esteem and a high level of confidence, if you have them, they're the most powerful tools you can have to help you find the man you need for a good relationship. You know, having high self-esteem means that you won't put up with crap. You know you don't deserve it and you can do better. So you won't be hanging on to guys that are not right for you just because you think there'll be no one else. And having confidence, that actually makes you more attractive. You know, it makes you glow. You know, just think of, you know, how much more attractive confident people seem to you. It transforms them, doesn't it? But of course, a lot of women, perhaps especially at our age, are lacking confidence in themselves. You know, perhaps you're not keen on, that keen on putting yourself out there, whether that's online or in real life. We worry about how the aging process affects our attractiveness. And of course, many of us have been through bad relationships that can often put a huge dent in our self-esteem. Or maybe you just feel invisible. You know, that's an issue that affects a lot of us. We feel that people don't even notice us. Or you might be worried that men just want younger women. So let's have a look at these issues. For many women, if they lack confidence in themselves, or if they lack confidence in their own attractiveness, or they worry about rejection, the result is that they put down the shutters. They make themselves unavailable because that seems the safest option. The fear of rejection becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. No one can get near. But it doesn't have to be this way. Yes, it's true that in general, men tend to pay more attention to young women in the first instance. And, there are good biological reasons for that. But obviously men vary in this. And the fact, older men, they tend to end up having relationships with older women, relationships as opposed to just fancying them. That's what the data show. Although they might find young women sexually appealing, ultimately most men are going to want a relationship with someone they've got more in common with, and they're going to be happier with someone like that. That's the way it works. And, as for worrying that you don't conform to attractive stereotypes of what men are supposed to desire, actually the research shows again and again that there's no one single way to be desirable. Yes, there are women out there that everyone thinks is attractive, Beyonce or Angelina Jolie or, whoever the latest gorgeous celebrity is. Most men are going to think they're hot stuff. But most men aren't going to aspire to having a long-term relationship with someone like that. Let's face it, it would be too much work. And, just because they're gorgeous doesn't mean they'd connect with any one particular guy. The thing is, everyone likes different things. It seems obvious, but I think we forget this. And sorry about this slide being of younger women. I couldn't find a midlife picture of the same type. But anyway, for every body type, for every personality, there are some guys that find that attractive. We humans vary in loads of ways, and that variation itself has evolved because different body types, different personalities, actually even different types of hair, do best in different situations. There are pros and cons for everything. That's why we're all different. If there was one best way of being attractive or healthy or whatever, we'd have evolved a single way of being and we'd all be the same. Kind of boring, isn't it? So clearly what that means is every woman can potentially be attractive to a selection of men. I say potentially because to be attractive, you need to be open. You need to get rid of those protective shutters. And at the same time, though, every woman is potentially unattractive to a selection of men. It's the same for everyone. So the implication of this is then that you don't need to worry about being rejected, because that's to be expected. It happens to every single person. What you need to do is show your real self out there. Know that you're attractive to a selection of the men who are right for you. You don't need to worry about the guys who aren't attracted to your particular personality or quirks or body type, because they're not the right men for you. So understand you're unique, And there are men out there who find you attractive. Everyone likes different things. So just to give you an example, a lot of us worry that we've put on a few extra pounds over the years, and maybe we think that's going to affect our attractiveness. Well, men vary hugely in what body sizes they prefer, and there are plenty that prefer women on the bigger end of the spectrum. In fact, very few men actually prefer stick-thin women. There are good biological reasons for this. Really skinny women tend not to ovulate because their bodies can't afford to be pregnant. Now, I know most of us probably don't ovulate either because of our age, but the point is, extreme skinniness is not something that most men are into. Plenty of men aren't into big women either, but plenty of men really are. So let's look just as an example at what affects the body weights in women that men prefer. So, whether they like big or skinny women or in between comes down to lots of different things. So there's personality, so for example, people who are high in the personality factor openness to experience, they tend to kind of shun the conventional standards of beauty. So they tend to, think outside the box on that one. There's his age, older men tend to go for slightly bigger women. His own weight, if he's skinny, he'll go for skinny. If he's big, he'll probably go for big. The environment, the harshness of the environment affects what men are into. Even the time since he last ate, experiments show that if you kind of starve a guy for a while, he'll start preferring bigger women in photos that get shown. So it's very, very variable. The point is, whatever your weight or body size, it's about being yourself and owning it, And of course, it's not just about body size, it's about everything about you. Don't blandify yourself. Eleanor came up with that word and I really like it. Nobody's very impressed by bland, really. Show your quirks and uniqueness. Be proud of what you've got, and other people will think you're amazing for it. Now, there are various exercises you can do to help with this, but one is simply to list the things about yourself make you someone worth being with. What makes you different? What things do people like you for? Are you funny? Are you kind? Are you a friend that others know they can rely on and trust? Are you a great cook? Are you a generous spirit? Are you a hard worker? If you can't think of things yourself, ask your friends to tell you what your good qualities are. Many of the women I've worked with in my program have told me they've been really surprised at the lovely things that that people think about them that they didn't realize themselves, and it's helped their confidence massively. Also think of your actual experiences of people liking you and what you do. Think of the men who have been attracted to you in the past, maybe ones that you rejected. You know that you have good qualities that would make a man lucky to be with you. Make a list of them. Yes, there are gorgeous women out there, but you can say, I'm great at A, B, and C, and people like me because of X, Y, and Z. Say your list over and over out loud every morning. And when you look in the mirror, keep doing it until you actually feel it, and then still keep doing it. When you're out in the world, hold your head high and know that you've got what it takes for the man who's right for you. And, the rest can bugger off, can't they? If you're closed up because you think no one will want you, this will scare guys off. They'll think you're unapproachable and uninterested, and they'll be scared of rejection. Men worry about that too, probably even more than we do at the beginning, especially the nice guys, actually. But if you're open, if you smile, maybe have a glint in your eye, that's a game changer. And that thing about being invisible or feeling invisible, well, it's time to get visible then, isn't it? You don't have to wear sensible clothes just because you're middle-aged. Think about what your own unique style is and bump it up. You might think about branding in your work. Well, this is personal branding. Think about how you package yourself. What impression does that give? Is it you, or are you trying to be like other people? As I said, don't blandify yourself. The point here is that the most attractive person is someone who's confident and happy in her own skin and is open and friendly. It's really not that much about specific physical characteristics, especially once people get to know you. Okay, so the second thing you need for successful dating in midlife is to understand what type of man you need. Now, one problem is we women have evolved to follow our gut instincts when it comes to being attracted to a guy and picking him as a partner. That worked well in cave people times. Maybe this guy is what cave women found sexy. Relationships would have been relatively short term back then, and the important things to look out for were health and strength and dominance and good genetic material to pass on to the kids. Nowadays, we live far longer. We tend to want different things from relationships and longer relationships, but we're still stuck with the gut instincts and preferences from the past. But we can bypass this if we understand what it is we really need and go for that. Now, part of this is thinking about what we want in any guy that we get together with versus what we actually need to have a happy, lasting relationship. So on the slide here on the left, we've got some potential wants. So maybe you want a really tall guy, someone who's taller than you at least, or you might want someone with a good salary, or someone who shares your hobbies, or someone that's not too follically challenged. But think about it, do you need these things for a good relationship? Perhaps these are things you can compromise on. You want to think about that and maybe open up your pool of potential partners. What we actually need comes down to our deeply held values, our need for intimacy, for someone to depend on, someone who's supportive of our career and family, perhaps, and also, what do you want to spend the rest of your life doing? If you want to be traveling the world and you're with someone who likes to tend the garden, then you might not be very happy. Or if you're a real touchy-feely kind of person, you like snuggling and you're with someone that likes to keep your arm's length, then you probably won't be very happy. Then things like, religious beliefs are, also things that are important to get aligned. These are deal breakers, Hobbies, you can share those with other people. It doesn't have to be a deal breaker. Whether or not someone has the same hobby as you is nowhere near as important as whether, they see your well-being as their responsibility and their values align with yours. So that's definitely something to think about. Another thing is we need to find a guy with the right personality characteristics. Now, again, we women have evolved to be attracted to personalities in men that tend to be beneficial in the relatively short term. So many of us have a tendency to fancy men who have high status, who are super confident and dominant over other men, because these are the men who have the ability to provide for and protect us and our kids. And so that's why the preference evolved. But the personality characteristics that allow a man to be like this are not those that necessarily make him a nice person to be with in the long term. In fact, it's usually the opposite. And so it's important to be able to take the time to identify the guys who have personalities high in the factors agreeableness and conscientiousness. Luckily for us midlife women, men do tend to increase in the agreeableness personality factor as they get older, probably because they're less testosterone driven. So that's a good thing if you're looking for an older guy. You don't have to look for an older guy. But also, as independent, sorted women, we don't need a man to provide for and protect us. And we're not having any kids, or at least any more kids. We need to identify agreeable guys and go for them. So what does that mean? Well, it means going for the guys who are considerate of your needs, the men who go out of their way to help people, the ones who see the best in others and don't throw insults around. Now, one thing that psychologists go on about is the welfare trade-off ratio. Now, what this is, it's the degree to which a person will sacrifice their own benefits for another. So if a guy has a high welfare trade-off ratio skewed in your favor, well, he's the guy who would give you the coat off his back to keep you warm in a blizzard. That's the kind of guy who will always have your interests at heart. That's the kind of personality you want to be looking for. And you might be thinking, yeah, I know I should go for a nice guy, but I just don't fancy them. I always like bad boys. Well, if that's you, just hang in there. I'm going to address that in a minute. But for now, I want to impress upon you how vital it is to think about, what characteristics we need. And some of that's personality. And another thing that comes into it is attachment style. Now, there's a lot to say about personality and attachment style and what they mean and the implications for what to look out for. And these are things that I cover in great detail in my program. But for the moment, I'll just give you the very basics. So for a good relationship, we want to get together with someone who is secure in their attachment style, because this is the kind of person who's comfortable with intimacy and will see it as their responsibility to look after their partner's well-being. So that's what you want. But how do we identify them? Well, there are a number of ways, but perhaps the simplest is to test a partner or date's reaction when you communicate your needs. Now, it's perfectly legitimate to talk about what you want from a relationship or how you like to do things, fairly early when you get together with someone. Maybe not actually on the first date, but early on. After all, if it goes down badly, you're going to know right away that things aren't going to work. So expressing your needs and feelings is a good test of your partner's ability to meet those needs. Now, as you probably have experienced at some point, some men will be very uncomfortable talking about feelings and stuff, and they'll probably shut down, or they'll accuse you of overanalyzing everything, being too sensitive or whatever. That's generally a sign of insecurity and should be avoided. I had a relationship with a guy like this for quite a while before I met my husband. I mean, he was French and tall and sexy, and he had a chalet in the Alps where we went skiing, which it sounds great, doesn't it? But actually it wasn't, because whenever I tried to get close to him, he pulled back. He was avoidantly attached. He ticked all the boxes that I was looking for, but I was never going to have a happy, secure relationship with him. You generally can't change avoidantly attached men unless they actually want to change. So it's about identifying them and giving them a wide berth, because otherwise you're on an emotional roller coaster with them. But if you're with a secure man, he'll be happy to talk about your needs and he'll do what he can to accommodate them. So the point here is that when you meet someone, instead of asking yourself, how can I be attractive to this guy, or what can I do to get this guy to like me? It should be, is this man showing up for me? Is he capable of giving me the kind of relationship I need? In this way, you can put yourself in a much better position to find a secure and happy relationship. Okay, so next, of course, we need to find out what a potential partner is like. So you might come across a sexy hunk and want to leap into bed with him straight away. But it should be becoming obvious why this might not be a good plan. We're used to expecting fireworks or chemistry before we'll get involved with a guy. But I've learned that this isn't the way to look at it, really. The thing is, if we do get intimate with someone early on, and it's often very tempting, but this gets our oxytocin levels up. That's the bonding hormone. It also gets our dopamine spiking. That's the reward hormone. And it gets our attachment system swinging into action. It means we get attached quickly before we've had a chance to suss out the guy and his personality. And that means we're smitten, even if he turns out not to be a suitable candidate for long-term happiness. And then we spend the next few weeks or months or even years, trying to get this guy to have the relationship with us that we want. But, it's never going to work because he's just not that guy. So, this isn't any kind of moral thing at all, but it is worth taking your time. I think, it's better to approach relationships as friendships, first of all. Identify the guys who seem interesting, nice, that you're curious about and would like to get to know better. Get to know them over time. Take it easy. And, the science shows that when we get to know someone, if we like them and we like their personality and their sense of humor, then we actually start to find them physically more attractive. We begin to desire them. So it might not be as exciting at the beginning as the fireworks guy, but you won't be using up all your emotional energy on someone who's never going to be good for a relationship. And you stand to find something a hell of a lot more satisfying and happy in the long term. And of course, even if you don't come to desire a guy you've made friends with, well, you've got a friend, and that's a good thing too. So, this way of getting to know a guy gradually and potentially finding him more and more desirable, that's how we can come to fancy the nice guys, the secure guys, the ones that can actually make us happy in the long term. I also think that finding nice guys desirable comes down partly to finding their area of confidence. We find confidence in guys sexy, don't we? And actually, this sometimes leads us to choose hyper-confident guys with massive egos. The danger with this is that the really confident men, they might well be narcissistic, which means they're out for themselves, absolutely not for you, even if they seem charming at the start. But of course, we do like guys to have a bit of confidence, and we need to find that. And nice guys have a habit of keeping it hidden. When I first met my husband, well, I got to know him over a few weeks, and I thought he was a nice, interesting bloke with a lovely personality. But it wasn't until I heard him singing in a ukulele session in a bar and really own the room and be totally confident with it that I really knew I fancied him. That sort of changed the game for me entirely. So it's worth looking for a guy's confident sweet spot, because often this will be hidden at first. Maybe he's a great musician, maybe he's a great speaker, and you can hear him give an authoritative lecture. And also importantly, see other people being impressed with them. We tend to like that, don't we? Obviously, not every man has an area of confidence, but a lot of the nice guys do. And so when you find it, that makes them very desirable. Now we get on to online dating. Let's face it, most of us tend to hate online dating, or at least we think we do. But if we're going to find our man, or one of the men that would suit us, we're going to have to look for him, and we need to create opportunities to meet men. It's a numbers game. As hopefully I've established by now, there will be a selection of guys who are attracted to you and your particular quirks. These are the men you're interested in. Forget the rest. And among these guys will be a few that meet your criteria too. Yes, they do exist. So the issue is how on earth to find these gems. Well, the more men we can sift through, the more chance we have of finding one that suits us and is attracted to us. So an obvious way to do that is to sign up for online dating. And actually, you can enjoy online dating. It is possible. It's about avoiding wasting time on the crap guys, drop them and move on, so you have time to engage with friendly guys and actually have fun. And it is really important to get into a positive mindset about online dating. A positive attitude will help you see the best in what you're doing. You can look at this as the beginning of your journey to finding the man you need. Don't assume it's all going to be crap and won't work, because, if you're always saying that you hate online dating, just change the record, because going in with that attitude will tend to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. That'll mean you'll be focusing on the bad stuff instead of the good stuff. A positive mindset will help you see the good things and pick the good guys. In fact, actually talking about this makes me think of one of the ladies who's been through the Dating Evolved program. When we started out, she was convinced that online dating would all go horribly wrong. She'd never tried it, and she got herself into a really negative frame of mind where she was convinced that something bad was going to happen. Then through the course, and with the support of myself and other women in the group calls, we convinced her to see it in a more positive light. And, the transformation has been incredible. In the last group call that we had, she was absolutely glowing, and she's now seeing a really nice guy. She's in the early stages, but she also feels confident now that if it doesn't work out with this guy, there are plenty of other good ones out there. She's seen loads of nice guys out there. And this abundance mindset is a really healthy place to approach dating from. So first, of course, you need to sign up to one or two sites or apps. In terms of which sites to go for, this is something that we'll discuss in our group calls and in the Facebook group in the program. When it comes to writing your profile, the first thing you'll want to sort out are your photos, I imagine. So make sure your main photo is one where you're smiling and looking warm and inviting. If you've got a picture of yourself looking like a beautiful ice queen staring off into the distance meaningfully, sure, put it in, but not as the main picture. You want to engender a feeling of being approachable. And you also want to engender trust. So make sure that most of your photos show you clearly without too much in the way of covering up your face with sunglasses and hats and stuff. And don't try and deceive in your photos, because it will come back and bite you on the bum. And get your personality coming through, not generic statements about liking traveling or walks on the beach. Tell them something specific about things you really like, something that paints a picture. And also remember to demonstrate your uniqueness. Several studies show that our unique traits are far more powerful attractors than just regular attractiveness for potential partners who are into those traits. Your unique things will put some men off for sure, but for the men who find them attractive, they'll be really attractive. There was some research by OkCupid, one of the online dating sites. It showed that women with quirky profiles, who were, a bit unusual in some of the things they did, they got messages a lot more than women who were independently rated as more attractive than the quirky women. And why was that? Well, the researchers speculated that this was because the guys' messaging were not only attracted to the quirkiness, but they also knew that other men wouldn't like it. So they perceived less competition and more chance of a reply. Men don't want to be rejected either. So, if you're a large lady who sings opera, say so. If you're a supercomputer nerd who just loves maths, say so. Of course, it'll put a lot of men off, but you don't want them. Some men will love your thing, and those are the ones for you. So showing your true self can act as a magnet and as a filter and can get you more attention. I think this is a good saying. Let your weird light shine bright so the other weirdos know where to find you. I think that's quite a good mantra to live by. Another thing is give guys something they can respond to, as this is a good way of filtering out guys that aren't for you. So some men on online dating sites are really focused on finding a relationship, but there are some men who are never going to want a full-on relationship, so avoidantly attached people, players, etc. If he's not open to a relationship, then there's no point in spending your time and energy trying to convince him. He ain't going to change. But a great way to look out for guys who are open to a relationship is writing something specific in your profile, like, I love visiting art galleries and having a coffee there. Or something like, if we end up dating, I might suggest you don your walking boots and we go for a hike in the hills on a Sunday. Basically you're suggesting what you'd like to do, and then you can see if he responds to that. And so, if you get a generic message from a guy that doesn't respond to specific things in your profile, it's like, hey, how are you doing? You can be fairly sure he's not focusing on you. He's just firing out messages and probably not open to a relationship. But if he clearly has read your profile and he's responding to that, then that's a good first sign. Now, another thing is you don't want your profile sounding like a CV. You want your writing to sound like you. And if writing stuff in an informal kind of chatty way doesn't come easily to you, a good tip here is to talk it into the voice recorder on your phone and then transcribe it. Talk as if you're talking to one person. That way, a guy reading your profile can better imagine how it would be to be with you. And also, you might be tempted to say things like, no time wasters, no hookups, no this, no that. But the problem is this just comes over as negative and grumpy and gives the impression of someone that's not trusting and not open. It's better to focus on positives that you're looking for in a tone that's friendly and approachable. Maybe some more playful statements like, you'll win me over if you're into cozy pub lunches as much as me. Or, I'd be really impressed if you can keep up with me on the park run. These are more sort of compelling statements that he'll be more likely to want to respond to. Of course, there's loads more to say about writing an online dating profile and how to message on online dating sites. And this is something that I go through in detail in the online program. So the idea with online dating is to connect with people and arrange a date, whether that's virtual or in person. My advice would be to avoid getting into long periods of messaging a guy, like for weeks on end. Some guys are just wanting attention. The sooner you meet face to face and have a conversation, either on video or in person, the more quickly you'll be able to work out whether this guy's got potential, at least as a friend. You'll be able to get an idea of whether you have shared values and whether you're curious to find out more. And if he doesn't want to have a conversation or meet up, well, then we're going back to the kind of guys that aren't focused on finding a relationship. They're playing the field, looking to get validation from women texting them. Meeting up early will stop you wasting loads of time on the wrong men. And none of us have got time to waste, do we? And as we're able to get out and socialize a bit more, you can use online dating as a supplement to the more organic ways to meet men. But I imagine your question might be, where can I meet decent men, and are there actually any good men out there? Well, yes, there are good guys, but they're not necessarily the ones you come across or the ones who approach you. We often get the idea that there are no good guys, because the ones who do come and talk to us, either online or in real life, they're the confident ones, the ones who have lots of experience with women, the ones who aren't too worried about what people think. They'll have no trouble approaching us, but they may well be players or narcissists or something else we don't want. The good guys, the guys with a high dose of agreeableness, they won't necessarily be so confident about approaching you. They might not want to seem like a creep. They'll be more respectful, especially in, these days of changing attitudes, Me Too and all that. They might, the good guys might want to avoid being that guy, the creep. And you might think, well, I'm not interested in someone who hasn't got the balls to approach me. But there are all sorts of reasons why he might not approach you. He thinks you look amazing, so why would you talk to him, for instance? Or he thinks you're busy because you're speaking to your friends and he doesn't want to disturb you. And he doesn't want to be that creep. Make it easier for the good guys to approach. So you can do this by making yourself available to talk to. So say you've, arranged to meet up with a friend in a bar or a cafe. Arrive a bit early and stay off your phone so that you can potentially engage with people around you. Also adopt, an open body posture rather than sitting there with your arms folded, not looking very friendly. Get near to him, stand next to him at the bar or pick the next table. It's not rocket science, but it'll help you not miss opportunities. And make eye contact with a guy and smile. You might have to do that a couple of times because they, sometimes they take a while to pick up on it. But smiling, there's nothing more inviting. And obviously, you don't have to wait for him to speak to you. We're modern women. We can speak to men. I know it's not exactly a revolutionary idea, but a lot of women do see it as a job of the man to make the first move. Now, in the online program, I'll give you loads of ideas around making the first move, what to say. But the first step really is just getting into the habit of striking up conversations with people in general, everyone, anyone, when you're out and about, so that, it'll eventually become second nature. And that makes it much easier to speak to men as well. But then the question is, where to meet men? From the stuff we've talked about up to now, I think you'll agree it makes sense to try and meet guys somewhere where you can get to know them over a period of time. But there's no need to limit yourself. Remember, it's a numbers game, and really anywhere is game, coffee shops, supermarket, train, walking the dog, whatever. Just be open to it. Be open to speaking to people. But obviously there are more structured things like singles nights, speed dating, supper clubs. Check out meetup groups. There are lots of those for singles, pretty much everywhere. But obviously you don't have to meet people just in singles events specifically. There are loads of clubs and courses you could do where you could potentially meet and get to know men gradually, which is what you want, remember. And, obviously you'll need to pick things where there are a reasonable proportion of men, for the obvious reason of numbers, but also research shows that when there's a relatively large proportion of men in a group, women are more likely to get the kind of attention they want from them. It's a phenomenon. And also pick things you like doing, for goodness sake. Then there's the potential to meet a guy who likes the same sorts of things as you do. And if you can't find a club for the particular activity or interest that you want, then why not start your own? It's really easy to start a meetup group, and that way you get to make contact with all of the members. It's the organizer's privilege. So you get first dibs on all the good guys. Or get creative in other ways, throw a party. If and when it's allowed, that is, we wouldn't want to break any rules, would we? Unlike some high profile people we know. But as long as you can throw a party, get everyone to bring a platonic friend of the opposite sex, for example. Get your mind working on creative ways to meet people. It's all about creating opportunities to meet men. You need to make a bit of effort. And I would say it's vital not to leave it all up to chance. Yes, of course, luck plays a part in meeting the right man. And, we all know some women who seem to have had amazing luck meeting their partner. But we need to help it along, make our own luck, create opportunities. The first time I met my husband was at a singles event at a pub here in Edinburgh. It was a cold, wet January evening, and a friend of mine had asked me to go along with her to this event. And I was busy, I didn't really feel like it. I nearly didn't go because I had loads of other things to do. But I actually told myself, you've got to give yourself opportunities, Mairi. I literally said that to myself. I know I'm bonkers, but I am so glad I did, because it led to me now having the best relationship of my life. So, you just never know when it's going to happen. We've got to make opportunities. Okay, so I'm going to summarize the points I've been making here. So everyone has a selection of men who will be potentially attracted to them, as long as you can be open and happy in your own skin and show your personality and uniqueness. But of these, we have to work out which have the kind of qualities that mean that can be a good partner for us. So think about your needs versus your wants, and the right personality traits, and a secure attachment style. And of course, in the program, we go into all of this stuff in great detail. Then you need to identify and attract and be attracted to the right guy. We have to give it a bit of time to get to know him, so we know whether he's right for us, and also for that desire to develop. And remember, it's a numbers game. We need to create opportunities to meet plenty of men so that we can find one we need. And that takes a bit of effort. Okay, so there's no point in me going on and on here if it's not going to lead to some action. So I've mentioned a few of the things you can do so far. So first of all, make that list of your attractive qualities and tell yourself every day how the right man for you would be lucky to be with you. Let's get that self-esteem going. Then make a list of your fundamental values. What's important in your life that needs to align with your partner, as opposed to just the nice to haves. And what things are you prepared to compromise on to broaden your potential pool of mates? Then sign up for 1 or 2 dating sites and get your dating profile written in a way that filters out the time wasters and attracts the kind of man that's open to a relationship with someone with your unique qualities. And get out there and meet people. Join clubs, groups, events. Change your routine so you meet different people. Take up new sports or classes, and make sure to be approachable. And do some approaching, get talking. So that brings me to the end of the masterclass part. But this, of course, is just a small, tiny taster of what I can offer you to help you find your man. Now, as promised, today we're announcing the new intake of my online program for those of you who would like to take this further and really go full on to find the man you need for the relationship you want. And it's going to kick off next Saturday. So this is a 6-module program. It'll be a journey we go on together to help you find the right man for you. And it's a chance to make 2022 really count, to change things for the better in your life. And I'm so excited about this because I know what it can do for you. I've run this course with a lot of women already over the last 18 months, and it's been a game changer. So what are you going to get from this program? Well, you're going to learn so much. I'll just give you a few examples here. You're going to learn how to build your confidence and enhance your openness and desirability and probability of being approached or messaged by the right men. You're going to learn how to select a partner on the basis of his value as a partner, rather than, the initial chemistry, because the chemistry doesn't equate at all with good partner material. You'll learn how to identify personality characteristics you need in a partner and those you must avoid. And those latter ones, they're not that obvious. You're going to learn how to sidestep men who aren't ready for a relationship so you don't waste your time on them. And you'll learn how to set your pace and boundaries to get the kind of relationship you want and get things off on the right foot. And of course, you'll learn how to actually meet the right kind of guys. And there's so much more. My promise to you is at the end of this program, if you go through the modules and complete the exercises, you will know exactly how to identify, find, attract, and desire the man you need for the relationship you want. But you're not going to just know it, you're going to do it, because you're going to have support and encouragement all the way through. So that's from me and from your wing women, the other women going through the course with you. And this support really makes all the difference. That's what women who've done the program already have absolutely found. Now, who is the course for or not for? Well, it's not for you if you're not ready for a relationship, or if you're expecting the universe to deliver the one without you having to go looking. You know, many of us women expect or hope that Prince Charming will just, you know, turn up on the doorstep, but it doesn't work like that, as I'm sure you've realized by now. But this course definitely is for you if you're a single woman ready for a great new relationship, if you're a smart, savvy woman who would like some effective science-based strategies for finding the right guy, if you're prepared to be proactive and put some time and effort into make this happen. You know, you need to be in charge of this. And if you'd like to learn how to identify, attract, desire, and find a new man who has what it takes to co-create a wonderful, secure relationship with you, then it's absolutely for you. Now, the program has two key components. Firstly, there's 6 modules plus bonuses. Now, these will consist of video presentations for each module, and they'll teach you everything you need to know to succeed in the enterprise of finding the man you need. And you'll have access to these videos throughout the duration of the 3-month program. You'll also have a downloadable and printable workbook with all the exercises you'll go through as you go through the modules. And you'll also have a master template for the man you need, which you're going to fill in as you go along to end up with a document that's basically a blueprint for the guys to go for. And it'll be personalized to you, and it'll help you make objective decisions, and not just go with your gut instincts. You'll also have downloadable and printable summaries of all the module material to make it easy to refer back as you go along. The other key component is the personal support from me, and you'll have the other women in your cohort, your very own wing women, to support you and keep you accountable. So I'll be sending you an email every fortnight to keep you on track with where you should be up to in your modules. I'll be giving you questions to think about and extra links to external resources you're likely to find useful. And you're going to have 3 online group calls, 1 per month, where you'll be able to meet the other women on the programme and share experiences. I'll be flagging up the main points in the modules you'll be doing at that point. I'll answer your questions about how to put things into place. We'll also have breakout rooms so that you can really get to know each other. So we're really going properly into how you can apply the advice in your own life personally. So these calls will last around an hour and a half, possibly more if people feel that there's lots they want to talk about. And you'll have membership of a private Facebook group just for this cohort going through the programme, where you can share your challenges and experiences with other women in the group. And I'll be in there every day to answer questions. Now, the women who have been through this programme before have got amazing support from being part of a group like this, and in a lot of cases have made great friends with each other. The theory and advice get you on track as to what to do and how to do it, but it's the support from other women that's what's going to encourage you and motivate you to keep going. Women in small groups together are really, really powerful. So here's what we're going to cover in the modules. So part 1 is the first couple of modules, getting ready and growing your confidence. So in module 1, this is where we go into what men and women want and why this is often different. I'll show you why your unique features are far more important than any conventional attractiveness. And we'll go right into getting that self-esteem sorted because it's vital. In module 2, we look at mate value and why you shouldn't necessarily go for the most gorgeous, hottest man you can get, and how to reprioritize what really matters so you can find a good man for a great relationship. In part 2, this is where we identify the right guys and we learn how to avoid the duff ones. So in module 3, we'll look at personality. You'll score yourself for each of the big 5 personality factors. Now, this is by far the most valid and reliable personality assessment according to psychologists. And we'll go, we'll look at what your scores mean for relationships. You'll also learn the traits to go for in a man for long-term happiness, and you'll learn the traits to definitely avoid in a potential partner. These are things that often make him seem really attractive at the start, so it's really important to learn about this stuff. Module 4 is all about attachment, so you'll do a questionnaire to score your own attachment style and learn about the issues that you might have with relationships as a result and how to resolve those. And you'll also find out how to sidestep problem guys and find a secure relationship. And part 3, this is how to find your man and what to do with him. So this is where we really start putting theory into practice. So in module 5, this is where I'll walk you through how to write your dating profile in a way that filters out those you don't want and acts as a magnet for the man you need. There'll also be lots in here about how to message, how to handle first dates and get the conversation flowing and assess your man. And in module 6, this is where we get to the best ways for meeting good men, how to make yourself approachable to good men, how to make the first move yourself, where to find these guys. And we also dive into how to set your boundaries and pace things early on, when you start seeing a guy, so that you make sure you don't waste your time on the wrong men, and so that you do end up with the right one. We also have bonus videos, so Biology Plus. Now, this is for those who love to understand the science of human behavior and why we do what we do. So these videos are a deeper dive into the biology and psychology of our relationship habits. Menopause, hormones and you. In this session, I explain what your body's up to during menopause, how to run your dates in a comfortable way if you're experiencing symptoms, and how to make the most of this potentially fantastic and productive time of life. And the social support sorted. In this video, I'll show you how to build and strengthen your social network to grow your healthiness, happiness, and even your attractiveness and approachability, and to be in the most confident position to meet the right man for you. It's really important to get this social support sorted. And also in this launch, we have a bonus mini course by the fantastic professional photographer, Donna Green. Now, she's put this together especially for this program. It's called Putting Your Best Face Forward, and I'm really chuffed about being able to offer this. So Donna is a personal branding specialist, which is exactly what you need when you're taking and selecting photos for your online dating profile. So here she'll go into detail on getting the perfect selection of photos to show off your uniqueness in the best light, literally. And some fantastic, these are some fantastic bonuses for you. And then with support from me and from your wing women, you'll be totally ready to go out and find your man. Now, as for the investment, I'll tell you about that in just a second. But first, I just want to show you a couple of examples of what women have been saying about the program, just to give you an idea. So Nancy says, I've recently completed the Dating Evolve course and it has been absolutely phenomenal. I can honestly say I've met the love of my life, my soulmate, and it really is all down to what I've learned on this course. Thank you, Mairi. I've never been so happy. And Adele says, the Dating Evolve course delivered on all its promises and more. As a result, I'm now dating a wonderful guy who in the past would not have been on my radar. I thoroughly enjoyed this course and would recommend it very highly indeed. So the investment for this program will be £390 plus VAT. And I promise you, this is really great value for money. I have put my heart and soul into this program, and you'll get a lot of input from me. So just to summarize what's included in the program, firstly, there are your course materials, so access to video presentations for 6 modules, review them as many times as you like. There's downloadable and printable workbook with exercises to complete each week, plus your master template for the man you need. And also you can download and print all the summaries for the modules. And then to give you the support and accountability you need, you're going to have those 3 live Zoom calls with me and your co-participants, where we'll go through what the science-based advice means for you personally. And there's going to be breakout rooms so you can get to know your course mates. And, you can ask your dating questions and share your stories and challenges and successes. You'll get a fortnightly email from me to keep you on track, give you encouragement and help ensure everyone's going through the course together. And I'll also give you links to further reading and video content as we go along. And also the private Facebook group for the women participating in just this course, so that you can inspire each other and share experience with your course mates. And I'll be there every day to answer questions, as I said. And if that's not enough, there are the bonuses. So the video presentations on menopause and social support sorted, the Biology Plus videos for those of you who want to take a deeper dive into the science, and a mini course, Putting Your Best Face Forward by Donna Green, professional brand photographer. And it all kicks off next Saturday. So a couple of other comments on the course. Shona says, the course has taught me how to actually desire the man I need rather than simply relying on chemistry, and I'm putting the advice into practice. I'm currently seeing a lovely man, seeing where it goes and simply enjoying the journey. I would so recommend this program. And then finally, Jane says, armed with Mairi's advice, I signed up to an online dating site and did pretty much what she suggested. And I was amazed. All these men came back to me wanting a date. And there was one I really plugged into. We met up and it was fabulous. Such a great place to be and so different from my usual experience. Now, 10 weeks in, we're still together and very much in love. I want to thank you, Mairi, for giving me the new perspective on love that has allowed this to happen for me. And actually, that was a few months ago, Jane said this, and I've been in touch with her quite recently, and she's still happily loved up, so that's good news. Now, remember, as you finish this program, we'll be hopefully, getting to a place where we feel more safe to go out and about more and more. The forecast suggests that 2022 will be the year when things start moving back to a semblance of normal and we can actually get out and socialize with people. So this is the perfect time to go through the program, So I really hope you'll come on this journey with us because I know it's going to make a massive transformation in your life. It'll be wonderful to have you there as well. So I hope you'll take the plunge. It's the perfect time to do it as we're coming out of hibernation. Whether or not you decide to go for it right now, there are lots of things you can do to get things moving in the right direction, as I pointed out earlier. So, take a deep breath, get yourself out there. But, perhaps you're still thinking, there's no decent guys out there. It's all too much aggro. I have a good life. I'll just stick with that. Or you might say something like, I'll put it out to the universe. If it happens, it happens. Unfortunately, though, relying on the universe couldn't, just mean it never happens. The universe, I think, is pretty unreliable, and you could end up staying on your own. But what if you do go for it? It takes effort, but you can also have fun with the right attitude, and I'm here to help you have that right attitude. If you're prepared to go for it in the way I've suggested, and I can support you along the way in this, then you'll become confident you've got what it takes to attract the man you need. And you'll know that you can get out there and find him. And then you can have the guy you want to travel with and to share with, to snuggle up and watch movies with, and have a fantastic and happy relationship. So that's what I really want for you. And now I'm just going to share my contacts and then we'll have time for questions. So my website is datingevolve.com. You can find plenty of blog posts, articles, free resources on there. Also, if you have any questions about the programme or dating questions, you can actually book a quick call with me for free. Just go to the contact page on my website, or you can email me, to ask ask your questions there. I'd be delighted if you'd like to link with me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. And then finally, for more information about the programme and booking, go to the Noon website. And so I'm going to stop sharing my slides now, and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mairi. That was absolutely fascinating, and I think it sounds like an absolutely brilliant course, and I love your testimonials. And I just want to assure all of you watching that one of the things we do at Noon is we really check out the people that we work with, and I can absolutely vouch for the efficacy of Dr. Mairi's program and her kind of total expertise and kind of trustworthiness. So I know that this is a kind of might feel like a bit of a strange thing to do, to kind of go and do a course to learn how to date, but we really think that this could help, and we know that there are so many of you out there who are struggling with this. I've got so many friends who are in this situation, which is why I really wanted to do this as our first Noon course. All the details about how to sign up through the Noon Academy are in the chat, and this is a special course that Dr. Mairi is doing for Noon, which is a bit different from some of the other courses that she offered. So this is a special offer for people through Noon. So sign up through us, please. And I was really interested by all your questions in the chat, and there are definitely things that we'll come back to on some of the articles that we run within Noon, because I think the perspectives shared are really interesting. So one thing that came up was, what do you do if you're an introvert and you're actually rather unconfident, Mairi? Because everything you're saying is like, smile, go and talk to people. I mean, I've always been a bit like that anyway. I talk to everyone. It drives my children completely bonkers. But if that's not you, how can you make yourself kind of be a bit more likely to feel approachable?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you follow the first advice that I talked about being approachable to others, you know, and one of the big things is simply making eye contact. But the thing is, I think guys are very different from women in terms of the signals they pick up, and they need a lot more signals than we do. So if you just like give them a little look and then look away, that's not enough, especially for a guy that's not fully confident himself. You know, you'll need to kind of look at him a few times and smile, you know, be inviting, and maybe even go like this. You know? But so you do need to kind of make it obvious that you know, you're not going to rebuff him if he comes over, because that really gives men the fear, and they might completely. And actually, I can tell you my own personal experience with this. When I met my husband at this singles event I was talking about, it was kind of weird, because me and my friend walked in, and it was quite early in the evening, and there was a few guys dotted around, kind of in their own territories, like standing alone at a table. And it's like, how on earth are you supposed to approach any of them? So, you know, we went over to the bar, and I was looking around, and I spotted Rob, who is now my husband, and I thought, well, it was quite interesting. I'd quite like to speak to him, but I didn't know what to do to kind of, eventually some more women came in, and a couple went over and stood opposite him at the table he was at, and I actually happened to know one of them. So I thought, oh great, I'll go over and speak to her. And I chatted with this friend of mine, and then kind of sidled round the table and started talking to Rob. So it was me that made the approach. But I spoke to him about it actually very recently. You know, would you have approached me if I hadn't approached you? And he said, possibly not, even though he'd seen me and thought I looked nice, and you know, he would have liked to have made contact, but he was actually quite shy. So you have to kind of try and put yourself in a position where you can speak to people. But the other thing for introverts, I guess, is to practice talking to people when it doesn't matter. You know, so you're out and about, you're in cafes, you're, you know, walking the dog, whatever it is, where you see people, just get into the habit of chatting to people, you know, totally inconsequential things, you know, pointing something out, or, you know, you're in the cafe queue and you say to the person next to you, oh, it's nice and cozy here with the Christmas decorations they've got, or what are you going to have? What kind of coffee would you recommend, or whatever, just to get into the habit of talking to strangers, so that then when you do get into a position where, you know, you might see a guy that you're potentially interested in, it's not such a big deal for you to kind of start that conversation. And that's all you need to do, just start the conversation, and then it becomes a lot easier, you know, because hopefully he'll come back with something for you to respond to. So I think that's what I would suggest, just get into the habit and practice talking to strangers when you're out and about.
And then we've got somebody else who says, what do you do when men are intimidated by your achievements? And I have heard that actually from various friends, or I've even got various friends who kind of lie about what they do. I've got from one friend who's a brain surgeon, and she says she's a nurse because otherwise people are too intimidated. I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true that a lot of men are intimidated by highly capable and intelligent women. But do you really want them? You know, I think you shouldn't try to be something you're not to please a man or to be attractive to a man, because then you'll attract someone who's not into your thing. There are plenty of men out there that aren't intimidated, and they usually tend to be the guys who are a little bit quieter, you know, the ones that aren't hyper confident seeming themselves. You know, the men with great big egos, they really don't like women to have great achievements. So your brain surgeon friend, I would tell her to just tell people that she's a brain surgeon, you know, and that's a great way of, you know, winnowing out the guys that are not for her, because if they don't like the fact that she's a brain surgeon, you know, it's not going to work. But as I say, there definitely are guys that really do appreciate a woman with intelligence, and, you know, a woman who's capable and independent. In saying that, though, I would say, you know, just be aware that men like to feel needed, just like we do, you know. So you don't necessarily want to kind of take over everything and, you know, refuse help with anything, you know. I think it's nice to actually ask for help with things that you do actually need help with, and show your appreciation for things, because, you know, we know what it's like. We like that as well. So you don't have to go in with all guns blazing and say, I'm an independent woman and you just have to put up with it. You know, try to kind of understand their point of view as well, and appreciate what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, and then we had a couple of people asking about, you're saying take it slowly, but they're saying that when they meet people on sites, particularly on things like OkCupid, which seems to be complete like casual sex fest, they're being asked very quickly whether this is a romantic thing or just a kind of friendly thing. So how do you finesse that? I would have thought that's the kind of thing you can probably cover really well in the course, because
Yeah. I mean,
it develops.
basically, it would be around, you know what you want from the situation. If you want to have take things easy and just be friends, just say, I'd like to see, be friends first of all and see where things go. Some guys will get really fed up with that and they'll go, that's not what I'm looking for, or that, want to go faster than that. But then if they're like that, then you probably don't want them. So again, it's a way of filtering out the guys that are not going to be for you. If a guy is considerate and highly agreeable, as we were talking about, then he won't mind waiting. He won't mind getting to know you. And that's really the kind of person that you're probably looking for long-term happiness. We all want different things, but don't be pushed into something you don't want because you feel that that's what's required. It isn't required. If you meet the right person, they'll want the same as you.
And just to end up, because I know people really want to know about this, which are the dating sites that you recommend for women at this point? We've had some people saying that we should invent our own noon dating site, actually, and maybe we should have Dr. Mairi vet them before they come on. I was joking with a friend of mine about this yesterday. So maybe we'll have a look at that. But which ones do you recommend? Or which ones to avoid?
A few have been sort of recommended by different, women that have been through the programme. So the ones that have come up have been Bumble, eHarmony, Restless Dating. That's one for over 50s. So depending on what age cohort you're in, that might be one for you. But it seems that that they're all possibly good. It just depends on what happens to come up for you. There's an awful lot of chance involved. One thing about Bumble is that you can't, as far as I'm aware, you can't actually search the guys' profiles. You just have to kind of take what they put in front of you, and I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, a lot of women like Bumble because it requires women to make the first move, so they're not being inundated with guys just looking for casual sex. But it also doesn't allow you to search yourself. And I think it's good for you to be able to look at guys' profiles and assess them. eHarmony, they go into a lot of detail in terms of asking about personality types and things. So that might be a good thing. But to be honest, any of them could be good. It really depends on who comes up, for you. And even Tinder, I think I've mentioned this on the noon thing before, but a friend of mine who's in her mid-50s, she met her husband on Tinder, and they're both great, and they're both totally happy together, and they got married last year, and so it can even happen there. Although I wouldn't particularly recommend Tinder, just because all dating sites objectify people, but that one probably more than the others. But I think just suck it and see, go for it, and see what works out.
I think that's probably where we're going to come to an end on this, because I think we've answered lots of questions, and you've given lots of information, and I hope it's been helpful to you all. And sorry, I'm just getting over COVID. It's my first day negative, so if I'm coughing, that's why. But please do sign up for Dr. Mairi's course. We're going to run it a few times this year, so it will come back again. But it's a special kind of noon course with a special rate. And also this very special noon cohort, which means that the kind of women who are going to be there are going to be women like you, and women who can really support you on this journey. And what we really saw out from the noon retreat, and I'm really delighted to see that Wendy from our retreat is on this call, is just how important that amazing supportive network of other women in the same boat has been, and how that WhatsApp group has developed into a really kind of friendly, supportive place. So I would really urge you that's a kind of, if you're embarking on this journey, you're bereaved or you've been divorced, or you're kind of out there on your own for the first time in a while, I think that camaraderie and having some other people to bounce things off is actually one of the most important things. And at the very least, you'll end up with some great new mates. And the network and the support, and just feeling that you're really not alone on this, and being able to bounce your situation off other people, that's the whole purpose of what we're trying to do at Noon is to say, you're not alone, we've got your back, there's so much more to come, you can have a new chapter, a really exciting new life. And the reason why I really love Dr. Murray's program is that she's really lived this herself. And just because the culture out there is saying that, older women, people aren't interested, it's just really not true. I've just come back from being on holiday with my mum and her partner, and she's 80, she's just got a new boyfriend, so it's never it's really never too late, and they're kind of super happy. So don't let all of this kind of, don't be put off, don't be unconfident, follow some of Dr. Mari's advice, because it's amazing how many of the things that we carry over from when we were younger, which now really no longer serve us. You'll be amazed at how many things you're doing which you're not even realizing, which may be why things aren't working out for you. So really, really give it a try. We want you all to be happy. We want you to find the next chapter. That's why we founded Noon. It's what it's all about. And I really believe that Dr. Murray can help you on that journey. So the links are all there to sign up. Thank you so much. If you're not listening to this live, you're listening to this on the recording. The recording will only be available for a few days because we want this. This is a very kind of special thing. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. And thank you so much for Dr. Murray, and hopefully see you again soon. And, if this one isn't right for you, do check out some of our other Noon courses and on Noon retreats. Just put up some more dates for those for this year. And do come and be part of our Noon community. And thank you, Murray. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for running all of this on a Saturday. Nice to see you all, and good luck. What I'd really like is for all of you to come back being one of Dr. Murray's testimonies, saying, I went on this course and I found a really happy partner, and I'm so, my life is better for that. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much, all of you. And see you again soon. And thank you, Dr. Murray. Good luck, and I hope it all goes well for all of you. I want to get a new hat and we can have some new weddings.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.